Something has already shifted beneath your feet. And between May 3rd and May 9th, that subtle movement could produce moments so clear they feel like small shocks. Not fireworks, not loud headlines, but those sudden pieces of inner truth that rearrange how you see a person, a choice, or even your day. This is a concentrated window. Think of it as a week where the undercurrent gets louder and asks you, quietly but insistently, to notice. If this resonates, tap like and stick around. I'll walk you through what to protect, what to welcome, and 3 simple moves you can use right now. You carry things you never agreed to carry. They've piled up over years, favors you said yes to until you forgot why you said yes, endings you never fully marked, identities you inherited because someone needed you to be strong. Call it spiritual debt if that language lands. The invisible weight that pulls at your posture, colors your choices, and sometimes even pretends to be your responsibility. It's not just guilt, it's a pattern, overgiving unfinished chapters, habits of carrying pain as proof that you're loyal or resilient. Those are debts that don't show up on any ledger, but they change the way your life bends towards certain outcomes. This week acts like a magnifier. Whatever you've been hauling, clarity will sharpen it. If you've been living under the habit of carrying everything, that habit may feel heavier. It might show up as small collapses, sudden irritations, or clear sense that something must change. If you've already been loosening your grip, you may experience surprising ease, a small door opening, or a conversation that lands differently than you expected. The week will tend to amplify what's already true in you. That's why how you move matters more than any external drama. There are 2 immediate dangers to guard against during this period. The first is turning your energy inward as blame and self-attack. A tiny slip, a late reply, a missed deadline, a blunt comment can trigger a voice that treats you like an enemy. Suddenly, your inner critic becomes louder than your inner guide. You begin to interpret subtle nudges as proof that you're failing. That hostile voice does more than hurt your feelings. It convinces you to freeze, to second-guess the instincts that could lead to unexpectedly helpful choices. It converts fertile curiosity into resigned inertia. Don't let the week be a mirror that only reflects who you think you are when you're afraid. The second danger is noise, overstimulation that drowns the soft currents of intuition. Social feeds, urgent messages, competing opinions, and the temptation to act quickly in search of validation. These are the static that can mask the small signals this week intends to send. When everything is loud, your inner compass gets polite but faint. You might mistake distraction for busyness or busyness for productivity, and miss the tiny rearrangements that could change the course of a month or a year. Slowing down is not passive avoidance here. It is the most strategic move you can make. So how do you stay clear? Start by recognizing 2 symbolic signposts in this week's weather. May 4th, the moon at apogee, and May 9th, the last quarter. These names are not prophecy. Think of them as metaphors for what the felt experience may invite. On May 4th, with the moon at apogee, imagine emotional gravity loosening. Picture a mentor's hand that has held you through a difficult stretch, finally easing its grip, not abandoning you, but creating room. There is an odd kind of freedom in that slack. No one tells you where to put your feet anymore. That looseness can feel disorienting. You might find yourself walking into spaces you've never had permission to explore, or facing decisions you've postponed because someone else always had the map. This is a chance to sense your own footing without the constant pull of other people's expectations. The catch is that freedom can be mistaken for abandonment, or it can be rushed into. Give yourself time to test what aligns. On May 9th, the last quarter arrives as a recalibration point. It's not a cosmic punishment or a final judgment. It's more like a sorting table. Some things will glow with color and demand to move forward with you. Others will appear gray and easy to set down. The last quarter phase is designed symbolically to help you separate what is truly functional from what exists because of habit or fear. It may feel like a small correction rather than a dramatic break. If you respect that sorting, you'll find your path less clogged by obligations that belong to other people's stories. Together, these markers create what I call a fork week, a concentrated span that offers real divergence. Imagine a road that splits into several lanes, each lane leading to a different version of you. Small choices redirect energy and open or close doors. Non-choices, staying numbed or frantic, tend to keep you on autopilot. The fork is not binary in a cartoonish sense. It is a branching of possibilities where rest, release, and small decisive acts each move you onto slightly different tracks. And here's a crucial reframe. Rest is not an absence of progress. It is an active, strategic posture that allows integration. Think of your nervous system like a muscle. When you train it, and when you push your limits emotionally or mentally, growth happens. Not in the moment of strain, but in the recovery that follows. Muscles strengthen when you rest them. Clarity deepens when you allow the mind to settle. Slowing down this week isn't permissive, it's preparatory. It readies you to receive the quiet signals that could reroute your months ahead. Let's ground this in practical, simple moves you can use starting now. These are low-cost, high-return steps to protect the week's sensitivity. 1. Pause notifications for 24 hours or for a single chosen day within May 3-9. Turn off what you can, or at least silence the apps that pull you into opinion storms. This limits noise and helps you feel the small cues that otherwise get buried. 2. Honor a slow morning. For at least 2 mornings this week, let the first hour be unstructured. No urgent emails, no scrolling. Make tea, stretch, breathe. Use that time to notice how your body responds to gentleness. That small ritual helps your instincts resurface. 3. Set one small boundary. It can be as simple as saying no to a request you would normally accept, or moving a meeting to preserve your energy. Boundaries are not dramatic gestures. They are signals that your internal life is worth protecting. 4. Write one line about what feels emptying you. A single sentence on a note card, "This drains me," clarifies more than a long journal. Keep it short. Clarity often begins with naming. 5. Make one low-risk, decisive move. Send that message you've been delaying, open a blank document, say no to one extra task, or call someone you trust. Small actions break stasis. They are the gentle winds that reveal which doors actually open. These are simple. They are not rituals guaranteeing a miracle. They are ways to increase your odds of noticing the surprising moments this week might bring. Watch for certain kinds of synchronicities, not because they guarantee anything, but because they often show that something internal is shifting into alignment. You might suddenly recall a detail from a conversation that unlocks how to respond. You might meet someone who instinctively offers the right question. You might see an old pattern reflected so clearly it becomes impossible to maintain. These incidents tend to be quiet and precise. A line in a book, a phrase in a podcast, an unexpected email, and they could nudge you in a direction you'd been too busy to see. But beware the twin traps again. When a subtle hint arrives, the inner critic can interpret it as too late or too small and sell you a story that you either blew it or that this is not for you. Or the noise can convince you that action has to be loud to be meaningful. Neither is true. You're more likely to miss the fork by overreacting or by defaulting into overload. Now allow me to make a few examples that might feel familiar. Picture 2 people responding to the same week. Person A treats every sign as an emergency. They react defensively, canceling plans, changing strategies, posting declarations on social media, and spinning energy outward. They mistake motion for meaning, and in trying to control the week, they blow past the small nudges. Person B slows, they pause notifications, take 2 slow mornings, and set one boundary. When a quiet offer appears, a short conversation from an old colleague, a new insight while sipping coffee, they have the space to listen, respond, and integrate. Person B's path doesn't explode overnight. It reorients. Months later, their choices look like a series of small but decisive turns that lead to clearer work and calmer relationships. The difference wasn't luck. It was the choice to move with the weak instead of against it. There's also something to say about self-sabotage dressed as caution. We often interpret restraint as prudence when it is actually fear. If you're noticing repeated patterns of stopping yourself at the threshold of what you want, ask whether that stop is built on safety or shame. Self-protection is necessary. Self-sabotage uses the language of protection to keep you small. This week may magnify both impulses. Learn to name them. Is this protection or is this fear? Naming loosens the grip of the habitual stop. Surrender, in this context, is a kind of strength. It does not mean giving up or being passive. It means releasing the frantic need to control every ripple so you can steward what matters. Letting go is not losing. It's choosing to carry only what belongs to your journey. Imagine setting down a heavy bag at your feet. Suddenly your shoulders relax and your sightlines change. That's what surrender can feel like when it is intentional. If you're wondering whether you've already missed the window if you're slow, hear this. Arriving later doesn't equal failure. Timing in life is not always about hitting a precise cosmic mark. It's about readiness. Sometimes clarity arrives months after a signal, and that's the point. Development is messy and not always elegant. This week is an acceleration point, not a once-in-a-lifetime gate. It may speed a transition that was already happening, but transitions still happen if you treat them kindly. At the heart of this week is an invitation to notice, to look for small recalibrations rather than big scenes, to practice curiosity where you might otherwise default to blame, to test a boundary where you usually say yes, to give yourself 2 slow mornings and see what surfaces, to pause the noise and listen for the soft instructions of your internal compass. Let's return to 3 micro-choices you can make in the next 48 hours. Pick any or all. Silence notifications for a full day. You don't have to disconnect completely. Choose the apps that usually distract you and mute them. See what shows up when your attention is less splintered. Honor 2 slow mornings. Commit to the first hour without screens on 2 separate days during May 39. Make it a small habit you can actually keep. Softer light, plain breath, a brief note of what feels different. Set one clear, small boundary. Say no to a single request, or shift the time of a meeting to protect your energy. Keep the boundary kind and firm. Treat it as an experiment in self-respect. Each of these removes friction. Each of these increases the chance you'll notice a tiny shock of clarity. That shock may be an inner reorientation. I'm done carrying this, or a small external sink. That person answered differently than before. Both are valid. Both are meaningful. A question to hold in your mind this week. What would it look like if your next step required less explanation and more presence? Often, the most decisive moves are not loud announcements, but quiet realignments. Changing how you begin the day, saying what you mean in a single sentence, or stopping a repetitive obligation that never fit. If the week gives you anything, let it be permission to make a simpler move. There's one more subtlety. Sometimes the right action is no action at all. When everything inside you wants to push or fix, the wisest response can be to observe and wait. Not avoidance, but stewardship. Not passivity, but a watchful patience that trusts emergence rather than force. The difference between impatience and patience is often the difference between reacting from scarcity and responding from sufficiency. Now, this is the moment to decide. Will you fight the week or move with it? Fighting looks like frantic control, loud gestures, and doubling down on the past. Moving with it looks like small, decisive acts of protection, a readiness to notice, and a willingness to surrender what doesn't belong to you. Neither path guarantees a dramatic headline. The shock you're promised by the title is not necessarily external spectacle. It is often an internal clarifying gasp. Oh, that's why I've been so tired, or I don't need to carry this anymore. Those are shocks worth honoring. If you're tempted to dismiss this as too gentle, remember, directions that sound soft are not weak. They are calibrated. They are designed to help you align with what's sustainable. The strongest trees bend in the wind. They don't snap. This week asks you to bend in the right places. Before you go, a small reflective prompt. Sit for a minute and notice one thing that feels lighter when you imagine setting it down. Name it in one sentence. That naming is a tiny ritual of freedom that costs nothing but attention. If this message landed with you, leave one line in the comments. What do you feel ready to let go of this week? Share with someone who needs permission to rest. Your small, honest note might be the exact clarity another person needs. May this week give you the quiet shocks that point you toward a path you can sustain. Trust your senses, protect your attention, love yourself with boundaries. The shifts may be soft, but they can reroute your life in ways you won't regret.